I'm doing a giveaway. Stick around to the end of the video to find out how you can enter to win. What is up, everybody? I'm NoLuxGiven, and today we are going to be taking a look at Pan's Shadow, which is one of the best heroes if you want to play Slay. I think that Slay is the best strategy on this hero that I've talked about a number of times, and this is one of the better Slay games that I've been able to put together on this hero, despite not the best start, which I think is also cool to look at. And this might seem like a little bit of an awkward start here, picking up a pair of golden chickens, but I do really like picking up pairs, especially of tier 2 units, while playing Pan's Shadow, because that's really the only way to grab those tier 2 treasures, is early on in the game, picking up some triples. You do also want to focus on Cinderella. We're going to pick that up in a little bit, and you could also use Krampus' Slay to get tier 2 treasures later down the road, but we're not going to worry about that just yet. And trying to find another pair, I'm going to wind up using Shard of the Ice Queen on a good unit to hopefully find another copy of Kitty Cutpurse or Madman. When I am unable to do so, I am just going to wind up slotting this Madman in to pump up both of these golden chickens. And the tracker is not going to work for this game, by the way, because I was doing some editing while I was playing this one. So I'll get that removed from the screen in a moment. But for right now, you know, we're taking a little bit of damage, but that's okay. I'll talk a little bit more about those tier 2 treasures as we pick up a Madman here, which is certainly a little bit of an awkward pickup on the surface. And then I just wind up picking up a prize pig for the most total stats to contribute to this board. There's a lot of tier 2 treasures that really go well into the Slay archetype. If you miss, you could always pick up something like a Secret Stash or Spinning Gold. Those are fine. But the things that you're really looking for are Bounty Board, Dragon's Nest, Hermes Boots. Any of those three are going to be really powerful treasures for the Slay archetype, and from there you can find other treasures once you hit level 4. But that's basically where I focus my early game when I am playing Pan's Shadow. We are going to wind up taking a little bit more damage here and donating some gold to Mrs. Claus, but that's okay. We are going to be able to pick up a Cindy now, and I'm also going to pick up this prize pig. It's a little bit sketchy. I don't absolutely love it, and the thing is, there's also good tier 3 treasures that you can find. So I think that just prioritizing all of my gold at this early portion of the game to try to find some tier 3 treasures is the best thing that I can do. And I'm even going to play another prized pig just for a little bit more stats. I know that I am donating gold to the rest of this lobby, but I'll make it up eventually, and I think that the extra health is just going to be a little bit more beneficial. You'll also notice that I rolled rather than casting Luna's Grace there. Just want to use as much of my gold as possible. Next turn, I have got 3 pairs. I've got Madman, Golden Chicken, Prized Pig, and I'm going to use up all of my gold trying to roll for those pairs, because next turn is the last turn to complete any of those. Cindy, we can worry about later. And I'm even going to pick up one more pair here. Bad Billy, we could potentially sell off these golden chickens if we need to as well, but I'm going to wind up picking up Bad Billy for another pair, and then I'm going to triple up on the prized pig. And 2 of these treasures say the word Slay on them, so the temptation is definitely high to pick up one of those 2 other treasures. However, they're not really exciting to me, and I actually think that Fancy Pants is an equally good treasure when you are trying to slay. So I'm going to go for that. We then wind up firing off the Genie's Wish to tick down Cinderella halfway, and I think that's the best that I can do for this turn. 1 gold for 2 ticks on Cindy I think is going to just be the best use of my gold, and I'll sell off the goats and the Madmims on next turn. We'll be able to pick up 2 level 4 units next turn, one of which will get the Fancy Pants buff. So we could still potentially, we're going to have enough room to play all of our characters this turn. We are going to take a little bit more damage. Even so, we take another 7 down to 24, but I don't feel terrible about this as far as a start on Pan's Shadow. Now we get to start to just pick up some things like Sporko and Lady of the Lake. We could pick up Chupacabra. It's not the craziest thing in the world. However, I think that there is another, well, here's what I'll say too. The fact that we didn't find any of those tier 2 treasures that I was talking about, and we also didn't find Bad Moon, that would have been the big tier 3 treasure that I really wanted to pick up. I'm not super dead set on needing to play Slay, and I think that it might even be better for us to just try to pick up Sporkos and Lady of the Lakes and move into like a Friendly Spirit into Princess P scenario. So that's kind of what I'm going for here, and I'm going to wind up selling off my Mad Mim to pick up For Glory, not because I think I'm going to win this combat, but really just to get one more tick on Cindy, one more look at a tier 2 treasure, and maybe we will be able to do something sweet with that. Just now realizing the other way you can get tier 2 treasures is through Kidnap and Gloves of Thieving, allowing you to steal tier 2 units from your opponent. Really awkward combat here as a donkey does some work against us, but we are going to wind up getting the win, which means that we also get the For Glory, which I was totally not expecting. That's going to give us a bonus Nutcracker, which is pretty sweet, and then we get some nice pickups in this shop. We get to pick up a Friendly Spirit and a Sporko. Maybe should have picked up the Friendly Spirit first to get the +3/+3 on that, but we are going to outfit it with a Stone Skin as well, and that's going to activate Cindy, and you'll see that that does not give us any relevant treasure. So I'm going to wind up skipping on that. If I skip and roll, then we can still sell these 3 units to pick up one more, and while we didn't find another Friendly Spirit or Lady of the Lake or Sporko, I do like these monster books. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up one. I'm not going to lock for the other one. I care much more about Friendly Spirit, especially when we have the Fancy Pants buff, that I'd much rather throw onto a Friendly Spirit than just a monster book. So now we are just kind of building into this good stuff horn build. My opponent going to cast 2 Falling Stars, and we are going to activate our Nutcracker immediately, which is really good. We're also going to trade prized pigs with my opponent, which I am more than fine with. My opponent seems a little bit sad about that. Maybe they're just sad about taking damage, but then we get to pick up Horn of Olympus, and we also can pick up a Lady of the Lake on this turn. I don't actually remember if I go for that because it will consume our Fancy Pants. Looks like I decide not to, and I'm actually going to go ahead and wish upon a star and start to get even bigger here. And this is kind of a tricky turn. I wind up picking up the Lancelot. I could have also seen picking up the Friendly Spirit because we had the Wish Upon a Star, though I don't really care too much about the extra XP. I'm really just trying to power level so that way we can start to find Princess Peas at this stage of the game, which typically isn't how I play Pan Shadow, typically going more for a Slay build. However, I think that we are just set up really well to take advantage of P, and we'll be able to find them easily because we are Pan's Shadow. So that is kind of the idea here. Lancelot going to Slay. Unfortunately, my opponent's Fireball is really nasty for us. 50-50 for the Friendly Spirit to land on Lance, which it isn't, but we get the second Slay on Lance, so Lance will have 26 attack now, getting supported by these double Sporkos. That's pretty good for me. From there, I rip off the Masquerade Ball. Was considering picking up the Friendly Spirit, but I wanted to take a look at some Ps already, and 3 looks at tier 6 unit. Not going to find P, but we are going to find Good Boy. And I think that Good Boy with the Fancy Pants buff and with this full back line of ranged units is going to be pretty good for us. From here, there is an interesting decision point because we can pick up Sporko or we can pick up a second Lady of the Lake. There's that Gloves of Thieving that I was talking about and the Krampus' Slay. Both ways to potentially go back and find some tier 2 treasures. So we could have taken Lady of the Lake, which would have been another good unit for Good Boy to pump. However, I think that just leveling up on the Sporko, grabbing the treasure, and having a better unit on the board ultimately serves me better. I wind up locking onto the True Love's Kiss, so that way I can potentially kiss this Lancelot next turn and do some fun stuff with that. We'll see what we are able to get up to, and I can't remember what else was in the shop. I guess it did also have the Lady of the Lake, right? So that's kind of the idea. We are going to win this brawl, so we could double Fancy Pants, though I think it makes a lot more sense to go ahead and grab the Sky Castle, and I'm also going to grab Evil Eye. So at this point, I was going to True Love's Kiss the Lancelot, but Evil Eye plus Horn kind of makes me think, well, should I just be playing Slay? Is Panshadow just a Slay hero? And I should stop ignoring my destiny. So that's what I'm going to go for. I'm going to roll, pick up a Jormungand. We're looking for Jormungands, Princess Peas, Baba Yagas, River Wish Mermaid, and then we'll pick up the Lightning Dragon, but we want to find the other pieces of this puzzle first. This turn we find Jormungand, finish off with a Cat's Call just to wind up spending our gold here, and nothing super crazy going on the current board. We do have a really large Good Boy, which is nice, and I'd kind of like the Good Boy to die before the Friendly Spirit. Eventually we'll want the Good Boy to die before the Princess P, but the important thing is for now our Lancelot is bigger than the rest of this lobby. We're up 2 XP, we're kind of killing it, and we aren't going to have too big of a problem. We put Morgan down to 1 health, so she's going to grab a free treasure from that. I'm sure she's not too disappointed, and we've got options here. We can now just play this Princess P board. We could pick up a Green Knight and just play good stuff, or we could play Slay. We could play Jormungand, and really the answer is that I think when you are playing with Panshadow, it's just so easy to find these Baba Yagas that it's just way too tempting to play Slay. And picking up a Baba Yaga here, that is definitely, going to push us in that direction. Our Good Boy isn't slaying just yet, but it is still a really good unit. It can pump up Princess P, it can pump up the Lady of the Lake, and then Princess P with that Good Boy pump will be able to give even more pumps to those backline supports. So I think that it is still definitely worth hanging on to. And if we can find a River Wish Mermaid, this Good Boy actually has enough attack alongside the Evil Eye with the Sporko that this Good Boy is slaying. It's slaying in all of these combats. It just doesn't matter because it doesn't have a slay ability just yet. We are also definitely going to want to find another Princess P because we've got this Sky Castle. That'll give us a tier 6 treasure. So that's definitely at the top of my list as well, and we immediately find that alongside a Jormungand as well, so that's going pretty well for us, and we have some options for what we want to pick up this turn. We could go Phoenix Feather, we could go Singing Sword. It's really close. I think that both are really good. My deciding factor is that I felt like if we have the Singing Sword, we are going to be able to slay, and then we don't have to worry, like Jormungand isn't going to die because we're going to get that slay. So thought that this was a reasonable way to take it. I could have seen going either way, and it's really tricky to fit everything on this board and do everything that I want to be doing with this comp, but I'm really not even sure if I should be playing the double Jormungand or a Good Boy. I think ultimately I decide on, I don't know, I was so back and forth. I did try to put the Good Boy back in at the last second, but I don't know. It was tough to make it all happen. Lancelot's easily going to get a slay though, and then the Jormungands will be able to walk the rest of the combat, and we'll take out this Wonder Waddle now. I can understand why they're upset on this one. And from here, I'm just looking for a River Wish Mermaid to really complete this board. And we find the River Wish Mermaid, and we find the triple of Jormungand, so that is really, really sweet. We also find Mimic Chest for perfect slay treasures, which is absolutely fantastic. I'm going to throw the River Wish Mermaid in, and then I'm going to turn Baba Yaga good, which is just great. And then I realized that one thing maybe sticking out a little bit in this board is the Lady of the Lake, and that should probably just become a Sporko. That's going to give a whole bunch of extra attack to Good Boy, which actually gives it the chance to slay, and then we can slay and start to grow with Good Boy, which is always a really, really sweet comp. And when you are doing that and you've also got the Mimic Chest and the Evil Eye going on, we are just going to be getting a ton of slays here. So Lancelot going to attack, grow super big, and Good Boy's going to slay as long as it stays alive. That is going to pass on a ton of stats to Jormungand as well as Good Boy in future combats. Princess P not able to slay, but as long as that Good Boy keeps slaying, that is pretty good to me. We're not going to quite have the damage to take my opponent out here, we are only going to hit them for 14 down to 2, assuming that none of my units die. And I don't think any of my units are going to die. Maybe the Cupid could have taken out one, but we are going to wind up getting the win. We also get a whole bunch of more scaling on Jormungand here, putting my opponent down to 2, though, to round out the turn. I do think about a little bit of extra attack on the good boy, but I really don't think we need it. Our good boy's bigger than all of my opponent's units, and I don't think that we are really struggling here. We could go ahead and pick up a Knighthood. We could also pick up a River Wish Mermaid. The question is, are my characters big enough that without Sporko, they're going to slay? And I'm really not sure, but I really want to try it. I wind up going back and forth, and I'm not actually sure what I wind up doing. I think that this is probably the better play, though it would be really fun to play double River Wish Mermaid. That's at least going to allow the Lance to just go crazy at the start of the combat, but I think it could potentially be a little bit riskier. So I wind up playing this, and it's not really going to matter. Lance is going to slay. That's going to make Jormungand huge, and then Good Boy is even going to slay again, and that's going to give us some stats, make Jormungand absolutely massive, and we just have to dodge the scam out of the pumpkin. No scam to be found, so that is going to be an easy win there with a really, really sweet Slay comp, putting together everything. We had the Exodia of Slay supports, we had the Jormungand, the Lancelot, the River Wish Mermaid, and we were also supporting a Good Boy and a Princess P. So really, really fabulous. Didn't have the Lightning Dragon of it all that potentially takes away, but it's so, so cool when you can just get Good Boy and Princess P in the combat and slaying and just doing some really, really fabulous stuff. That is going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'm No Lux Given. Peace. This week's giveaway word is level. Each week I use a new code word. That's just to distinguish who's commenting for which week, and the reason I have you guys say a code word, that way I can tell who is interested in the dust and who's just commenting to say hi or that they enjoyed the video, stuff like that. You can definitely do both, just make sure you include this week's code word. You can also enter as many times as you want per week, once per video. You can go back, leave comments on old videos, just make sure they include this week's word, but there's no limit to how many times you can enter, other than, I guess, the amount of videos that I have. And I've been putting out a bunch of Storybook Brawl videos since last October, so yeah, there are a bunch of opportunities to enter to win. You can go through the backlog and watch some of those, but it's been really fun to receive the comments from you guys, get that level of interaction. You can also come join me on my Discord, which I'm trying to grow right now, just so that I have feedback on my titles and thumbnails and things like that, but I also have some fun ideas for special game modes that I could make work with lobbies of players in the future. So feel free to check that out as well. There is a link to that in the video description, and help me climb on my way to 1,000 subscribers. I'm getting there slowly but surely, and thank you guys all very much for your support.